Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I got two fantastic pieces of news. Fantastic. One, Zelensky might or he's preparing for elections, and I will tell you when. And the other one, it's something that might reveal to us, it's not a piece of news that is good for us. It's good because it might reveal what's behind all this peace process that Donald Trump brags about. Could be just a game. Hold your horses, I have the article. All right, let's start with the first one. Ukrainska Pravda. Zelensky preparing for summer elections. Ura! Right there, says the Economist. Look at him, look at him, look at him. Okay. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky may hold elections as early as this summer, and he intends to run for a second term, and the Economist reports. Okay, will Mr. Zelensky be allowed to compete and Mr. Klitschko? Even if they are, they will be under the sniper's scope cross? We'll find out, right? Ukrainian officials have told the outlet that Zelensky convened a meeting last week, instructing his team to prepare for an election to take place after a full ceasefire, which, according to U.S. estimates, could be achieved by the end of April. The report names Easter Sunday, 20th of April as possible date. 20th of April, 1889. Okay. So, the sources differ on the exact timeline. So, the article also notes that Ukraine's parliament is scheduled to vote on May 5 on whether to extend martial law, which is currently set to expire on May 8. Lifting martial law is a necessary first step to launching an electoral process. Why did they do this? So they can say, well, you see, if the Russians break the ceasefire, we're all for it. We're ready to give the Ukrainians back their democracy so they can elect me back, okay? Therefore, if it's on Russians, if the Russians break the ceasefire and are incapable, not us, we are capable of holding a ceasefire, but they are incapable. So if they can't, see, it's the Russians. Hey, Ukrainian people, it's the Russians. If the Russians will stop, then we will lift the martial law and you can pick me to be your president again. Isn't that great? How do you say fantastic in Yiddish? Slupu. Wouldn't it be slupu? Yeah, slupu. All right, I speak foreign languages. All right, my friends. So the law requires at least 60 days for campaigning. So the earliest possibility would be early July. But some sources say the campaign would have to last 3 months. This is the time elections authorities have reportedly told Parliament that they require to reconstitute voter lists in the middle of war. Okay, good news, good news. So they're going to have elections. It's up to Putin. So if Putin breaks the ceasefire, then no elections for you, right? All right, let's look at it is so bizarre-ish. It is so. Remember when Savior Jesus Christ showed up in the temple and started those money changers and all those guys in the temple? Remember? Those guys over there are still in charge of what's going on right now. The schemers. All right. So it's on Putin. We'll find out, and that's together with this article right here, my friends. Coming from the New Voice of Ukraine. Trump says he is very angry with Putin over Ukraine war. I read it again. Trump says he's very angry with Putin over Ukraine war. Why? Because Putin probably opposes the ceasefire. So was Trump only playing games? Pretending that he wants to stop? I think it's framing Russia. I think all this peacekeeping process, ceasefire, let's talk, Putin, Vladimir, is just framing Russia as an irredeemable entity in the eyes of the entire world. That entire world would say, yes, man, well, now we got it. Russia is exposed. They don't want to have a ceasefire under our conditions. They don't want to negotiate the way we want them to negotiate. Remember, in a negotiation, certain things could be, we could disagree about certain things. That's why when the Russians won each and every time doing the so-called negotiations in Saudi Arabia, I was like, why are the Americans so, given? Nothing was decided on paper, it's just given. I said, maybe to frame these guys. And they will come back later and say, well, I changed my mind with that. Why? It's always worse to take a present back than to give it in the first place. If someone gives you as a child a bicycle and you're like, tra-la-la-la-la-la with a bicycle, and someone takes it from you, you're going to be, oh my God, how beautiful it was. But if you didn't have it in the first place, you don't have that, how beautiful it was. You can imagine how beautiful could be, but you already know how beautiful it was when you were ta-la-la-la-la with a bicycle. No, same here. The Americans are giving the Russians everything. We're going to, damn, you can have that, you can have that, you can have that. They were like, we're losing here. Or we're just going to try to frame them. At the end say, we gave them this, we agreed with this, we agreed with this, and we agreed with this. And the Russians, as Zelensky was right. He told us that they're bad people and they're bad people. So we're going to go full force. Everybody, NATO, everybody, let's go. Could that be? We'll find out in a few days. In the meantime, let's continue reading this article and see why Donald Trump is angry. US President Donald Trump told NBC News anchor Kristen Welker, I suspect, that he's very angry with Russian President Vladimir Putin and is prepared to impose secondary tariffs on all Russian oil if Moscow fails to negotiate a ceasefire in Ukraine. What do you mean failed to negotiate? They mean disagreeing with your offer? Again, stop treating the Russians as your students, as your employees, as your plantation guys, or the house servant. They're not. They're not. So I think this is a redo. It's a restart. Zip, zip, zip. Resuscitation. What's going on right now? That is, if you don't, it's so irritating, angering actually. It's like I want your car. And I say, I want your car. Let's negotiate. And you say, I don't want to sell your car. Come on, man. Sell your car. Okay, man. Let's sell your car. All right. I'm going to sell it to you. And I say, I'm going to give you $5 for your car. Would you say, wait a minute, my car is a Lamborghini Testarossa. Okay. So it's a Lamborghini Testarossa. $5? No, man. You don't want to negotiate? I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to impose secondary tariffs on you because you don't want to negotiate. But for $5? Okay, I gave you $6. But still I don't want. See? He doesn't want to negotiate. This is how the Americans are negotiating, the same way they do with everybody else. They don't want to come to the negotiating table. Like how they didn't negotiate with the Ukrainians, with Zelensky. If you don't do this, I'm going to do this to you. Come and negotiate. That's a threat. So you're going to use that threat each and every time that the other side that supposedly negotiates with you disagrees with your offer. $5 for your Lamborghini Testarossa. You don't want $5? I'm going to hurt you. Okay, you don't want, I'm going to give you $6. I'm nice guy. All right? Is that how it is? Have you heard the Russians negotiating like this? Or I don't know, the Chinese negotiating like this? Or the Iranians? Why only the Americans? Is it because the Americans have those guys in charge? I wonder. My friends, let's read further. And I'm quoting, just a few hours ago, President Trump called me to say he's very angry at Russian President Vladimir Putin and threatened to impose secondary tariffs on Russian oil, this guy said. And I'm quoting, she also quoted Trump directly. If Russia, now please pay attention to this and imagine this is the child. This is not Trump. Imagine how would you analyze what this person is saying, this child. If Russia and I are unable to make a deal, all right, sometimes you can make a deal, right? On stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it was Russia's fault, which it might not be, but if I think it was Russia's fault, what the fuck are you talking about here? I am going to put secondary tariffs on oil and on all oil coming out of Russia, the president reported said. So, right here, if I think it was Russia's fault, but if I think it was Russia's fault, which it might not be, all right, maybe he's too deep for me, maybe you got his... I heard Trump many times saying, you know, I think you're a liar, but I don't think you're a liar. But if you're a liar, then you're going to have... But if you're not a liar, which I don't think you're a liar, which one is it? Well, I'm unpredictable. That's what Trump likes to think about himself. No, I think you're a baboon, right? If you listen to the guy, and I'm very unpredictable. Many guys say that I'm unpredictable. For me, you sound like a baboon. That's all you sound. You don't like it? I don't know, my friends. If you like it, it's your boy. In this, I like Trump, but when he says this kind of things and he uses this kind of technique consistently. Anyway, so what do you think he's going to do? So he's imposing, and if the Russians are, and we're incapable of making a deal, it's because of you, therefore I'm going to hurt you. What are you going to be next? Something else was here. On oil coming out of Russia. What do you think it's going to be? So if you disagree selling your Testarossa for $6, I'm going to hurt your children. That means you have to do it. But if you negotiate like this, every time I want something from you, next time I will want your house. And I will use the same threat. So you're going to sell me what you don't want to sell at my price, otherwise I will hurt you. What is this? Not even Al Capone was like this, I think. Anyway, so I think it could be just a game to frame Russia as, you can't make a deal with these guys, man. These guys are thugs. See, we tried. We gave him everything. Even Zelensky. And no, man, he wants to hold elections. And again, these guys, elections, no. Ceasefires, no. Everything on our terms, not yours. But we want to negotiate. What is this? I don't want to negotiate under any threat. Any threat. Imagine the Russians will come and say, well, if Zelensky doesn't retreat, get the Ukrainian troops, move them to Poland, then I'm going to nuke them. See? I'm going to nuke them because they didn't want to go. They didn't want to negotiate what I told them to do. But hey, is it negotiable? Doesn't matter, man. It's your fault. So if I nuke you, it's because you didn't want to just go to Poland. All of you, clear the area. I mean, it's so basic, so baboonish, so bottom-feeding, so weasel-like. But what do you expect? The people in the temple, and the people in the temple were not, as far as they tell us, Iranians or others. They were, the same kind that they are bazaring our lives. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.